Alright guys, so today we have the 2020 Veloster N here in the shop. It's the DCT version. We're going to be installing the AEM intake. It is the short ram and airbox combo that we're going to get put in here, and we're going to show you how to do it. Now, like with all of our other videos, we went through, pre-assembled all the little rubber outside pieces, got the silicone couplers on, we got that little AEM top cover plate on, so we're not going to show that. If you need to reference any of that, look through the directions. They tell you the lengths to cut the rubber pieces and stuff like that. So let's move over here to the car and get started. Let's get started. Alright, so what we got here is we've got a couple tools that we're going to need for the install. These here are really nice. They're a set of hose pliers, not clamp pliers, but hose pliers. You just grab the hose, give a little twist, it knocks it off. Got a set of pliers here for taking off all the metal strap band clamps. Be careful, they will bite you if you slip off. And we've got a couple other sockets here to pull off some of the clamps. So I'm going to get started with in the directions they tell you to go through, get most of the hoses and stuff removed. So we're going to start with that first. Okay, now I'm going to release the airbox clamps. Okay, and I'm going to take the hose pliers that I talked about earlier. You just give a little twist, pull on it at the same time, they pop right off. Super convenient, really easy to use. Highly recommend it if you're going to do installs like this. So, got the electric impact with the 10mm. You don't need an electric impact. You just got to get these two clamps loose. We loosen that clamp on the airbox. We come back here to the turbo and we loosen the 10mm back here. Now, something I do want to make mention of, guys. This right here, this drives me nuts. So take a look down here. This clamp has a little tiny washer on it. That'll fall off, and it's supposed to. I'm going to actually pull this off really quick. So I'm going to pull this intake off, and I'm going to show you guys this clamp. It drives me nuts when they use these things. Okay, so when this pops off, there's literally a washer that is supposed to, let me get this thing all the way off. Okay. So this is supposed to go like that with the washer, right? So the washer is literally supposed to sit in here and right up against the little U like that. When you pull this off, this is just going to fall apart like this. Okay, if you ever plan on putting this back together, taking it back to stock or something like that, put it really close to that washer because you'll lose that washer. Okay? Alright, so now we can pull it off the turbo. Boom. Intake's off. Pretty easy, straightforward, no heartache. Okay, so like we said, we popped the 4 brackets off the top of the airbox. Gonna get the lid off the airbox. Right here they have something that says pull, so you just give that a little pull. That allows you to get the air filter out of the airbox. Alright, now we take our 10mm again, and we've got a total of, if I'm correct, 3 10mm. You got one here in the back, right by the battery. Make sure you don't drop it. It makes it a real pain to get back there and chase it down. Got one over here by the headlight fender. And you got one down in front below the headlight. Now you're going to need a long extension to get this one because this one sits all the way down here. And there you go. Now, airbox comes out. Pretty easy, pretty simple. Now we can start on putting the airbox pieces in. So, the U opening here obviously points over towards the airbox. Got to slip this in underneath. Now it can be a bit of a cast to get it to slip in underneath. But when it does slip in, This hole back here will line up on the bracket. This hole here will line up. with the threaded hole, and this hole down here will line up with the threaded hole. Okay, so just get these started with your fingers first, then you can go after them with the 10mm. Quick. The air box slips underneath the snorkel. So there's a factory snorkel here. It slips underneath of that. Don't try to force it into it or bend it or anything like that. It will slip in underneath that, nice and convenient. Torque spet's good and tight. Okay, there we go. Now we can put our snorkel on for the intake. So this just goes straight back like that. Line up your snorkel, line up the hoses in back. Sometimes you may want to put a little bit of lubricant on this to help it slip on. Have to go off camera, get the special lubricant. Hardy har. Alright, so that pops on like that. We've got our intake lined up over here. Now you can start attaching hoses. This one on. And that is how you get a sore finger. Okay. Come back here. I'm going to put this one on. And put this one on. Now we're going to tighten up the 8mm clamp on the back of the turbo. Now I use really nifty little nut driver. Makes tightening up clamps a breeze. You don't have to try to figure out how to line up a flathead screwdriver. Now, as I said before, we went through and we prepped this install, but normally you'd want to tighten up this clamp also. I've already got that one tightened up just to help speed up the video. Another, you got to pay attention. The AEM has to point up. If the AEM's sideways or upside down, you lose horsepower. So literally, that has to be pointing up. Honestly kidding, if somebody actually decides to make a mockery of that, then I'm in a lot of trouble. Okay, again, we grab our 8mm. Now, I didn't prep this part of the install. It looks like kink clamps. Good sized. Alright. Got the filter on there. Camera guy's making sure AEM's pointing up right. Thank you, camera guy. Alright, so now all I got left to do is we got to throw a couple Allens in the top cover. The top cover is really cool. The top cover has this nifty looking AEM. Engineered to outperform. We'll find out. We're going to put your shit on the dyno, so let's see what happens. This is a part of magic. You just kazow. No, I gotta go grab that. Hold on a second. And it is a 4mm Allen with 4 Allen head bolts. Say that 4 times fast. So now this is a sheet metal type intake cover box thing. So they do have a tendency in shipping to move around a tiny bit. So what you're going to want to do is you want to get these kind of started. And you'll notice these aren't quite lined up over here. So we're going to have to use a little bit of brute force to get stuff to line up. So you just have to kind of nudge it around. And I'm pushing pretty hard here with my thumb to get that hole to line up. And I would recommend starting with this hole first, because if you temporarily put one in here, it's going to be hard to move the box around. This one didn't get banged up too much in shipping, so we look pretty good. Alright, we got the top on. Now the great thing about these intakes is they do seal pretty cleanly with the hood. They're sucking in through the factory air intake, and then you do get very little around the box in the way of engine compartment air. So these are pretty convenient. I do like the design. We sell a ton of them for the Stinger. Hopefully we start selling a ton of them for this application too, pending the outcome of the results. Alright, well I do have to make mention of one other thing because I didn't notice these holes here before. So they do have a couple of holes here for the factory clips. Alright, so we're back. So I just went over, grabbed a couple of bigger Christmas trees to anchor down. Just push those down nice and snug. Two nice, great big Christmas trees in there snugging that down. You can pick those up at any auto parts store, Napa, O'Reilly's, Pet Boys, whoever. All right, so now we've got everything on the car. I think we can fire it up, listen to it, dyno test it, get you guys the results, and you guys can use this fantastic video for when you need to install something like this. How's that sound? All right, guys, stay tuned for the dyno results. So when we got done here tonight with the AEM intake, thank you camera guy for reminding me.
What car was it on?
A Veloster N DCT. Pretty happy to see the DCT results too. So the DCT tonight, dynoed at, our peak power was 244. You kind of have to ignore the max power because over here we got this sharp rake that moves up and I can't get rid of that. I apologize for that. I've set the filter settings as hard as I can and they won't go away, but here nor there. So essentially fourth gear pull, really no torque increases, and this is after I think 2 or 3 pulls, just to let the adapters get set on. A 9 foot-pound torque increase at about 3,600 RPM. Not really an amount that I would go out and brag about. But starting at about 4,700 RPM, you can see the horsepower increase slowly starting to go up. So we're sitting at 233 for 241, and from there it just continues to climb. 234, 248. Make sure I'm on the right side of that. Yep, I'm on the right side of that. And then as we continue to move up, 254, 239, 259, 241, and then all the way down here is it's a pretty solid 20 horsepower gain, all the way across at the near the edge of redline. The mark moving up here, that's the shift point that was initiated. I didn't catch it on the blue curve, on the start curve, because I'd stopped the dyno run right in time. More or less gains from, I'll kind of highlight this with a zippy tie. So you got gains that are literally starting from about 4,200 all the way up, and it's just a steady climb, and it peaks out and just maintains that curve. I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm really surprised to see these results. These results, it's a 2 3/4 intake, it's not even a 3-inch intake. Small intake, huge gains. I'm speechless. I don't even know how to go about expressing how happy I am to see the gains like this from such a simple intake. Affordable, easy to install, encapsulated cover, so it's pulling direct air directly from the front of the engine. Not a true cold air, but a short air with a box. With that being said, if you're going to use the video, pick up the parts from us. It'd be really appreciated. We want to make sure that people are, getting the install, the results from us, and we're delivering the products that you guys want. So with that being said, hopefully you enjoyed the install and you enjoy the results from the AEM intake. Thanks, guys.